Climax is a film set in 1996 about a troupe of French dancers who gather in a remote and empty school building to rehearse on a wintry night. Their all-night celebration turns into a hallucinatory nightmare as they discover that the wine fruit punch they have been drinking during the evening is laced with potent LSD. As the evening gradually disintegrates into chaos, dark secrets, sexual desires, rivalries, and acts of violence will rear their ugly head, the dancers becoming a danger not just to themselves but also to the others around them. Climax might just be one of Gaspar Noé's most entertaining films to date, and this is a director primarily focused on creating extremely shocking but nevertheless mesmerizing cinema, one that's very breathtaking to watch but also incredibly stomach-turning to sit through. Now, I was one of those people who said that with his previous film, Love, he kind of went a little bit too far, and it wasn't because I was bothered by the sexually explicit content, no, far from it, but I kind of thought that by wanting to create this most carnal and the most raw experience imaginable, he kind of forgot to tell an interesting and compelling story along the way. And the experience proved to be less awe-inspiring than I would have wanted, and the movie was also a little bit too long. But this film, I actually feel like it's sort of a back to form for this director. This is actually the least amount of time that has ever passed between two of his films, and from what I gathered by reading interviews, this has been the leanest, the fastest, and the most seamless production this director ever had a part of. It definitely feels like a sort of back to basics sort of film. It has this very vintage look to it, like all of his other films, and it features all of the familiar elements, like very bright, warm colors, very strong contrasts, very choppy editing with the occasional black frame intercut into the edit, and very long shots that really feel like they are taking their time, that really feel very spontaneous, that really keep you on your toes and causes you to be alert and really ready for anything to happen, and stories that actually descend into utter madness that involve drugs, sex, and the occasional extreme violence. Despite Gaspar Noé's films being very dark and very violent, he also injects a lot of his humor and a lot of his ego into the film. Like in this film, for example, it starts with the very end. We see one of the very last frames of the story in the very beginning, and then the end credits roll. This is the very beginning of the film, obviously very much reminiscent of Irreversible, a film in which the whole narration happens in complete reverse. The whole film features these very long takes, these very long 8 to 10 minute shots that have this very winding and have this very hypnotic nature to them, obviously very much reminiscent of Enter the Void. And also we have this very choppy editing in which sometimes a very ambiguous text is intercut into the film. We have this huge fucking text up on the screen, very much reminiscent of Love. And despite this being one of his shorter films, it's only an hour and a half long, his two previous films, Enter the Void and Love, were longer, they were over 2 hours long. It's actually, paradoxically, one of his least narrative ones. This film really doesn't have much of a story. I mean, pretty much what you see is what you get. There isn't really much going on underneath the surface, except in what's literally happening up on the screen. Certain critics, and even the director himself, really tried to find meaning in the film. Like, some have said that it presents a microscopic vision of society and collapse, others have said that it evokes the inevitable feelings of self-hatred, regret, and the shame that accompanies this much fun, and the director himself even went so far as to say that he wanted to make a psychological drama that is the counterpoint to Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, so much so that instead of seeing the apes evolve into humans, Climax is like the humans going back into being apes. I call bullshit on that. If there was ever a director who didn't give a fuck, then that's Gaspar Noé. He's the guy who just takes everything you learned in film school, all of that hard work, all of that knowledge, and just flushes it down the toilet, and even throws a camera in there to film it for you. This is the guy who makes things up as he goes along, and there's nothing wrong with that, trust me. I mean, this guy really seems like a very nice person, and he's incredibly talented, and he has a great vision and a great eye. I can't take that away from him. But any meaning he tries to give his films, afterwards, it's just made up. I mean, the whole film was made up on the spot. They wrapped the whole thing up in 5 months or 4 months, I think, from a 5-page treatment, I might add. So this film didn't even have a script. They filmed the whole thing in 15 days, and allegedly it was a completely spontaneous and a completely improvised and a completely sort of made up on the spot kind of project. And I really sensed that while watching the film. It felt very real, it felt very genuine, and it's no wonder because all of the dialogue was basically improvised by these dancers. They were just talking about whatever came to their minds. So that's really fascinating. They're saying a lot of funny things, they're saying a lot of shocking and offensive things that really make you raise an eyebrow. These are people talking just like regular people, talking shit about the other dancers, talking about who they would have sex with, talking about who they had sex with already, talking about their insecurities and their anxieties and stuff like that. And my girlfriend had a very good point after we came out of this film. She said that, this is very realistic right here. She said, It's always the men who are talking about sex, but it's actually mostly the women who are doing it. And when you will see the film, you will understand why. I like this film. It's very impressive in a very strange sort of way. It's very, very visceral and very claustrophobic sort of experience. You are constantly feeling like you are trapped in this school, as you should. It's very dynamic, it's very energetic, it's very well shot. It's definitely an experience type of movie. It's definitely not a story or a narrative thing or anything like that. So it's not for everyone, but if you're a fan of this director, then I would definitely recommend you checking it out. I don't think you will be disappointed. So my question to you guys would actually be, what is your favorite Gaspar Noé film and why? Now that's what I'm really curious about. Hope you'll leave your answers down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching my review, folks. As always, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can see you guys later with other reviews. And until then, love you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.